Hello, everybody. This is Juanito El Bandido. With the release of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre video game that came out fairly recently, I figured it'd be a cool time to maybe do a tier list on all the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies. There's not a lot, but I think this is probably one of the most battered franchises. Uh, a lot of these movies are pretty bad, and it's not a very well known franchise. I mean, everyone knows Leatherface, but I don't think a lot of people have actually seen the movies necessarily. So, for anyone that's interested in maybe watching the movies, here's a tier list. We're just going to go really in order of release. So, we got the first one that came out in 1974, I believe. This will just go straight into S tier. Uh, this movie is great. It's really good. Leatherface, I think, here is probably the best he's ever been. And there's a fundamental misunderstanding in this movie that kind of plays a role in all the movies coming forward, is that Leatherface himself is really just a scared kid. It's the family you have to worry about. He was never supposed to be a slasher on the same level as someone like Jason or Michael. He's always supposed to be second fiddle to the family. And that's just a misunderstanding a lot of these movies have going forward. The set design is great. The acting is cool. You know, shots, everything. I really do enjoy this movie. I do think it holds up great. I do think it is 100% worth a watch. Coming up next, we have the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Now, this movie is pretty cool. I'll put this in B tier. This movie kind of goes in a completely different direction. Not kind of, it absolutely does. Instead of being a more serious, gritty horror movie that you find in the original, this one comes out to be more like a dark comedy, like a horror comedy. There's this infamous scene of Leatherface dry humping a woman with his chainsaw. He kind of falls in love. It's an interesting movie. I like it. Chop Top is great. He's a fan favorite. Him picking at the scalp and eat it. But I do enjoy this movie. It's got its moments. It's great. Then we got coming up next here. We have the third one. Honestly, we'll just stick this one in. We'll put it in D. It's kind of forgettable. I think this is really where we start to see Leatherface as a slasher villain on the same level as Michael or Jason. I don't think he works that way. There's some really cool scenes in there, I guess. The whole Matthew McConaughey thing is funny, at least to me. But it's okay. I mean, it's very non-offensive. That's the word. Okay, so after that, we've got this one. Honestly, this is 100% forgettable. I don't really remember it at all. So we'll just put that in E. Yeah, I mean, there's really nothing to talk about. And the thing is when we're looking at these movies here, like it's a very like sharp decline in quality, like almost immediately. We go from S tier all the way to D tier. And granted, when I'm putting these in these rankings, these are specifically in relation to each other. I think Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a great horror movie that's an S tier for like horror movies in general. But Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is a B tier in relation to the rest of the movies. I mean, so it's okay. Doesn't really do it for me. And then we got the remake. Now this is where we're gonna get spicy. Not S tier, A tier. I like the remake. I thought the remake was cool. It was unique in the sense that it followed a lot of the same plot elements and set design that was established in the first movie. I just like how it's shot. I love the new characters that were introduced. I think Leatherface here is intimidating. The family's intimidating. I think this was a good middle ground between um, the initial concept of Leatherface being a child that is at the whims of the family to Leatherface being, akin to like a Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees. I did enjoy this movie quite a lot. Then afterwards, we got, what is this? The prequel one? The prequel is okay. I'll put it in B tier. And the reason it goes into B tier is because of the character. I believe his name was Sheriff Hoyt. Let me double check that while we're here. Yeah, Sheriff Hoyt. Yeah. Want to say he was in this movie as well. It's been a while since, yeah, Texas the beginning, guys. Yeah, I was right. So, great movie. I think Sheriff Hoyt really is. I'd put him up there with some of the all time great horror antagonists. He's very intimidating, very spooky. I love it. I love it. I love the intimidation factor that he brings into the set. Like he really commands the scenes and really makes Leatherface not that scary at all. I'd rather deal with Leatherface than uh, the sheriff here. So afterwards, we got, I don't know which came out. If it's this one, this one's E tier. This is kind of a prequel for the whole franchise. The Leatherface continuity, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre continuity, is very confusing. We're not going to get into that right now. It's really not worth getting into. This one is a prequel that's kind of leading up to the events of the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. The whole movie kind of plays a weird like detective thing where like which one of these kids is going to end up being Leatherface. And there's a red herring in there of you think it's going to be the big silent brooding type, and it's really not. Spoiler, my bad. Not a very good movie. I mean, see, and again, like there's a sharp decline quality here. And then we got this one. This is a sequel. It goes into F tier. It is not good. Not good at all. I did not have a good time with this movie at all. There's that meme, was it, do your thing, cuz? It's been memed, but this movie's bad. It is so bad. It is not good. Not good. You could skip this movie. I would recommend you just don't watch this movie. I mean, it's just not worth it. And then here we got this movie right. Oh God, get out of here. Now we got the Netflix. This goes into C tier. Okay, so C tier for this new Netflix Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. It was very non-offensive. I think the kills in this were pretty cool. I did not like how they really just shamelessly, stole or plagiarized, or however you want to explain it, the whole concept of Halloween 2018 with the whole Laurie Strode thing. They did this again with Sally Hardesty. I don't really feel like the problem here is that Sally Hardesty doesn't really have that same level of provenance that Laurie Strode had. I don't. When I think of the greatest final girls of all time, I don't really think of Sally Hardesty. It doesn't feel like. I mean, it doesn't really feel like Sally Hardesty had like a stake in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like, sure, her brother was killed, her friends were killed, but really at the end of the movie, it just feels like she's happy just to have survived, and she's just living her life. So they did a whole Halloween 2018 with this one, where Sally's like some Texas Ranger or whatever, and it's just not good. The plot is not good. The whole set design is not good. I feel like it's in the name Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It should have been filmed in Texas. I think this was filmed in Bulgaria. I know for sure it was not filmed in America. But it just doesn't do it for me. The kills were good. I mean, we've seen that one meme, do something in your castle, bro. And that bus scene was great. That's why I really love the Halloween kills, because you see Michael Myers just go to town on everyone. He's just murking everyone. That's what I really loved about the Netflix Texas Chainsaw Massacre, is just seeing Leatherface just go to town on everyone. That was really cool. I love that whole scene, but ultimately it falls short with these other ones up top, and I mean it's noticeably better than the ones down below here. So I really feel like C is a good middle ground for it. I mean, and as you can see, now this list is probably going to be mildly controversial. I know a lot of people will just put Texas Chainsaw 1 and 2 in S tier, and then literally everything else is an F tier. I don't think the franchise is necessarily that battered, and a lot of these movies are that bad. I think a lot of people are just hyper fixated on the movies of the past, and they're not able to let a movie exist on the basis of itself. So just because it's a remake doesn't necessarily mean that it has to rehash every single thing that was in the original. And that's why I put the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake in A tier. I really liked the introduction of Sheriff Hoyt. I really liked the kills. I really liked the appearance of Leatherface. was a good movie all around. I had a good time with it. But B tier for Texas Chainsaw 2, and then the beginning, I feel like that's fair. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, as stated earlier, didn't really try to follow up to Texas Chainsaw 1. It just did its own thing. I respect that. Pretty cool. Chop Top, stand out. Love it. The beginning was a prequel to the remake, and these two movies, they work pretty good together. I love horror movies where the killer wins. So I enjoyed the beginning. We the remake or requel, whatever. Because so the Netflix one is actually a direct sequel to Texas Chainsaw, the original. Cool kills. That's about all it's got going for it. It was very non-offensive, very middle of the road. Leatherface is just mid, but like aggressively mid. That's why it's lower than the Netflix one, because this one was just aggressive about it. Uh, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Next Generation. I've watched these movies. I have no recollection of this movie, so maybe in theory it should be an F tier. But the fact is, I can't in good conscience put this movie with this one down here. Same with Leatherface. I mean, at least with Leatherface it was something new. It didn't necessarily work, but I appreciate an effort in trying something new and different. And then this one was just horrible all around. Literally, all the woes in this movie could have been solved if the main character had read the letter. We're not going to get into the plots or deep dive into these, because ultimately I want you to watch these movies. But everything that is bad that happens because she didn't follow directions, and I dislike that a lot. But these are my tier lists for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Ultimately, if I had to tell you guys, we're gonna watch some, I just watch these four right here. Everything else you can probably skip unless you really love the franchise. Then I mean, maybe go and watch all of them if you want. But like I said, I think the quality drop from B to C is pretty massive. And in theory, I should probably put this in D tier, but it's better than this movie. Like, it is objectively better than Leatherface. So, I mean, those are my tier list rankings. If you guys disagree, that's totally fine. I mean, I'm a young kid, old man, but I try not to be too stuck in my ways. So, I mean, if someone has a better reasoning for why, maybe all these movies are actually horrible and I'm a bad Christian boy, then we can discuss it. But I don't know. I feel like this is a good list. It's a very fair list, I think. And, I love the franchise. This is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. One of my favorite movies, period. I'd say this one and The Exorcist are probably my favorite horror movies. So it's not like I'm coming at this with a place of, disgust or anything. I try to be very open-minded with a lot of these horror movies because, a lot of people, I feel like, get their start with horror movies because they're generally cheaper to make. But yeah, that's my tier list. Hope you guys liked it. Tune in next time. I don't know what the next tier list is going to be. Maybe Friday, maybe Halloween, or maybe frozen pizzas, I don't know. Anyways, you guys take care of yourself. Catch you next time.